Hello viewers. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss how to tell an engaging story using the medium of documentaries. I have with me in the studio Sayantan Mukherjee, who has just graduated from ILIT College. He has graduated in media science and he is about to enter the industry as a professional. So coming back to the discussion, when we say documentaries, we have to be very clear that we are not talking about corporate films or promotional films, but we are talking primarily about independent documentaries. Now, you also have television documentaries like the kind of documentaries you see in History Channel, in National Geographic, or in Travel and Living or Discovery Channel, etc., which follow a set format. So, they are part of a series usually and they follow a set format. Whereas in an independent documentary, the filmmaker is free to play with the format, to experiment with form, and the filmmaker definitely should express his or her personal views through the documentary. So an independent documentary that way is a very personal endeavor, and it becomes more powerful and it connects with the audience better if a story is told through that medium. In a way, making a documentary is the easiest of jobs, and in some other ways, it's also the toughest of jobs. Now, why is it an easy job? Because you don't need stars, so there are no stars to throw tantrums. You don't need sets or expensive costumes or expensive props or anything like that. You work with a small crew, and all you need is a good camera, a robust sound recording equipment, and an idea in your head. And so you can just hit the roads with your small team and your equipment, and you can, start shooting the documentary. But then why is it the toughest of jobs? Because most of the time the situation is not in your control, and you do not know what you will end up with at the end of the day, whether you will get the kind of shots you are looking for or not. Also, secondly, you have to rely a lot on your instincts, because since you cannot direct your characters in that sense, you have to be very, very alert, when they're about to say something very, very significant or when something very important for the film is going to happen. So you have to work on your instincts, you have to think quickly, you have to take quick decisions, and most importantly, your camera has to be on at the right place at the right time in order to capture the right moments in the documentary, which will make your film a winning film. So, therefore, it requires a very different kind of discipline to make documentaries and much more patience, because you have to keep on probing, keep on prodding till you get the kind of footage or you get the kind of sound bites you want. And that requires a lot of patience, a lot of tact on the part of the filmmaker. So therefore, when you are expressing through the medium of documentaries, you are actually probing deeper into the lives of the people, and you have to motivate them, you have to get them to speak their mind, because to begin with, they always try to impress you. But then eventually you have to go on probing till they speak out the truth, till they speak their mind. And in your film, you have to give a fresh perspective to an old issue. Say, supposing you are making a film on global warming. So there are already so much written about global warming. There are so many films on global warming. But your film should contribute something new that nobody has spoken about, or the way nobody has thought before. Alright, your film should not repeat what has already been said or already been talked about or already been filmed in the earlier films. Your film should always contribute something new or show an old thing from a fresh perspective, from a fresh angle. And you have to bring out the truth embedded deep inside the facade. So therefore, you should not cover just the surface reality, but you have to probe deeper. And that's where the challenge of a documentary filmmaker lies. And when we talk about truth, that a documentary filmmaker is in search of a truth, we have to remember that truth is stranger than fiction. So do you agree that truth is stranger than fiction?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, can you think of an example where something true, a real life incident has grabbed your attention and has taken your attention away from all these films and the television serials and all that? it?
The kind of criminal activities that has been happening nowadays,
Okay, yes.
which are very unnatural, and
Yeah.
fiction films are getting inspired from real life.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yes, they are much stranger.
Yeah. Okay. So that means there are a lot of real life incidents, very, very dramatic real life incidents happening all around the world, and which can be subjects for documentaries.
Absolutely.
Right. Acha. But when you are pursuing the truth, in pursuit of truth, you don't really have to make your documentary shabby looking. You know, very rough with rough edges and not properly edited, not properly framed, not properly lit. Okay, your documentary doesn't have to have a shabby, rundown look. So therefore, you have to tell a gripping story in a captivating way. And you have to act quickly, because otherwise the people you are dealing with, they are not professional actors. So you can ask them to do the same thing again and again.
Yes.
So they will run out of patience. All right. So that's why I'm saying it requires, because you are dealing with a real life situation. So to get the best out of the real life situation, it requires a different kind of discipline. When you are doing a documentary, you ask yourself these questions. Number one, why do you want to tell the story? What is there in the story which the people will connect with? Okay. What is there in the story to hook the audience? You have to be very clear about that.
Okay.
If there is nothing that engaging, okay, then there is no point making a documentary on it. Then how would you give your story a dramatic arc? You know, there has to be a development, okay? And just like a 3-act structure, but not always a strictly 3-act structure. So you have to give it a dramatic arc.
Okay.
And then what thoughts would you want to leave your audience with? Because a documentary is not made for purely entertaining the audience, but it is made to provoke the thoughts of the audience, to create an awareness. So therefore, you have to leave your audience with very strong thoughts or strong ideas to ponder upon in the last sequence of the film. So
Okay.
what are the thoughts you want to leave the person with? You know, he shouldn't move out of the hall or switch off the TV and then the whole thing vanishes from his mind. You know, it should linger in his mind. He should keep thinking about it.
Absolutely.
All right. So you have to answer these following questions before you launch a documentary project. Various situations may inspire you to make a documentary. Say, for example, sometimes you get the end of the story first and you have to work backwards. For example, Bangladesh, the terror attack that happened in Bangladesh.
Yes.
All right. Now, who were they? What motivated them? Why this terror attack? So, if your story, supposing you want the story to culminate in the terror attack, okay, so in your research, that's the starting point of your research, but in your documentary you have to work backwards and trace back
What led to this?
what led to this.
I see.
Got my
Okay,
point?
yes.
So therefore you have first got the end of the story and then you are working backwards.
Okay.
And all that has happened before, what led to this, is past. You cannot get it reenacted, you cannot recreate it, but through other kinds of testimonials, documentary evidence, you know, telephone conversations or letters or whatever, you have to trace it back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Sometimes it may happen that you get a gripping start to a story and you have to take it forward. All right.
Okay.
So supposing now this refugee problem is there all over Europe.
Yes.
So supposing a new fresh boat has come with some refugees and there are a lot of small children. All right. Okay. Or another example I give you, that a woman has got arrested for some reason and the woman has a small child and the small child also has to go to jail with the woman. So how does this small child cope with life in a prison? I mean, she is not a prisoner, the child, okay, but the mother, whatever, is in
Yes.
prison, she is in custody, all right, and the child also has to grow up there inside the prison. So that's the starting point of your story.
Yes.
And you're tracing the journey of the girl, the growing up of the girl inside the prison in a very unnatural, unwanted, undesirable situation.
Okay.
Understood? So
Okay.
you have got the beginning of the story and you have to wait for the story to unfold, for story to
That's
develop.
a very long-term process then.
It is a long-term process,
Okay,
definitely. So that's
okay.
why I'm saying a documentary film is not made like that. You may have to spend 1 year, 2 years, 5 years in the process of making a documentary.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so as I said, if you are tracing the journey of a child, the growing up of a child, then your story may extend into the future. Okay, and you do not know what will be the culmination of your story.
Yeah.
Okay, and then sometimes the most dramatic moments are behind you. You know that whatever has happened in the life of supposing you are making a film on the life of a musician. So the musician at the moment is at the twilight of his life. Okay, the most dramatic things have already happened in his life.
Yes.
And now you are making a film on that person. Okay, so how do you capture those things that are already past? Okay, so these are the challenges, these are the questions that you have to answer yourself.
Okay.
All right. So I would like to tell you about a specific documentary. It's called A Diary for Timothy.
Okay.
Okay. Timothy was a little baby born in the year 1944 in England, and the film was made by Humphrey Jennings. And into that war situation, the baby is born. It's basically an anti-war film. Okay. But the backbone of the story is that the first 6 months of the baby Timothy. Now coming to the Indian examples, there is a recently made film called Bilal, made by Saurabh Sarangi. So this is the poster of Bilal. This is a drawing by Bilal. So Bilal is about a little Muslim boy who was born to blind parents.
Pop. Pop. दूसरा वाला भी दबाओ. दूसरा वाला.
Why Saurabh Sarangi decided to make a film on Bilal? Because one day he went to visit the mother. He was doing some work with the mother, Jhorna, who was blind. He went to visit the mother, and the mother was in the hospital. The baby was, I don't know, 2-3 months or maybe a little older than that. And mother couldn't see. All right. But the baby saw Saurabh, and the baby sensed something, and the baby touched the mother to say that somebody has come.
Okay.
The baby touched the mother.
Okay.
And that moved Saurabh Sarangi. What kind of relationship will develop between the parents who are blind and the child who is normal, who can see?
Question. Ashok. Sit down. Sit down. কি হলো বাবু? মিনু পয়সে রে? হাত ব্যথা করছে? করবে তো? ঘুম পেয়েছে? দুধ রুটি দেবো? তো কি খাবি? কাছেরই মতো আমি ভেঙে যাই আঘাতে.
So he wanted to explore the growing of this baby through his camera. And the film eventually is Bilal. So here we saw the baby actually growing up in front of the camera. He shot it over years. Okay. And the baby growing up in front of the camera. So now the question is where to end the story.
Yeah, true.
You know,
Yeah.
so actually on the day of the circumcision, because it was the Muslim child, on the day of circumcision of Bilal said, enough is enough, you please stop, I don't want the camera. You know, in his own language, he said, I don't want the camera. That he was about 5 years old or something like that.
Okay.
So Saurabh Sarangi said, okay, if Bilal is saying, I am unwelcome, this is the right time to stop. Now, it may also happen, God forbid, that your protagonist may die in front of the camera.
Okay.
If your protagonist grows up in front of the camera, your protagonist can also die in front of the camera, God forbid. Okay. Now, something similar happened when Ranu Ghosh was making quarter number 4/11. Quarter number 4/11 was about a person called Shambhu, who used to be a worker at Usha factory. You know, the South City.
Yes,
there was this
absolutely.
Usha factory, and Shambhu was a worker there. So when the Usha factory owners sold off the property to this developers of South City, all their workers were evicted from their quarters, but Shambhu refused to go.
লোককে শো করছে শম্ভু সিং থাকে না, কেউ নেই ওখানে, কোনো কোয়ার্টার নেই, দেখে এই বিল্ডিংটা আছে কি করে, এইটাই খালি প্রমাণ, মানে এটা আছে কি করে, যখন সব ভেঙে দিয়েছে এটা কি করে আছে, নিশ্চয়ই কারণ আছে, এর মধ্যে আছে, এটা এখন পেপারে দিলে ছবি বোঝা যাবে।
वो क्वार्टर में कौन कौन रहता है?
अभी रह रहा है, हमारा भाई है, भाई का परिवार है, उसका लड़का है।
और आपका परिवार?
आई थी बीच में आज का 10 दिन पहले, उसमें जब से भुगने नहीं।
They had cut off his water service, water supply, the electric line, etc. But still he stayed there.
মাঝখানেই বসে আছি আমি,
ও মাঝখানে বসে আছেন আপনি?
সব দিক দিয়ে ভেঙে দিয়েছে, আমার মাঝখানে শুধু আমার ঘরটাই আছে, ব্লকটা।
না না, কেন সন্ন্যাসী কর্মকারের যে অপোজিটে যে
ওটা তো একদম লাস্টের দিকে, আমি পার্কের এদিকে, স্কুলের দিকে।
আপনি এই স্কুলের দিকে? তো স্কুল তো ভেঙে দিয়ে চুরমার করে দিয়েছে।
আমার কোয়ার্টারটা আছে,
কোয়ার্টারটা আছে?
আমার সঙ্গে কোম্পানি হিসাবে হয়নি, আমি ছাড়িনি করে, আমি কেস করে রেখে দিয়েছি, আমার কোয়ার্টার ভাঙতে পারছি না।
ও,
আমি একা আছি
লড়ে যাচ্ছেন আপনি?
একদম মাঝখানে, 2 বছর চলছে। আবারও কোম্পানি আবার হিসাব দিক একটা, রামসং বসু নাকি শালা পড়ে থাকবো।
But then one Christmas day, I think Christmas Eve, 24th December, it was quite cold in Calcutta at that time. Some forces came, not the police, private forces came and just threw out Shambhu's belongings out into the streets, and so that they could, mow down that quarter. Because otherwise the South City, it was like an eyesore in that entire South City compound. All right. So then Shambhu was thrown out. But he had to survive. He took up the job of a bus conductor and all that. All right. And then Ranu was going on shooting, and because there was a court case also. So Ranu was for several years. Ranu was going on shooting. Eventually, one day, Shambhu met with an accident. Now, whether it was genuinely an accident or whether it was a got-up accident, we do not know. Okay. It didn't happen when Ranu's camera was on, but in the process of making the film, Shambhu died. Okay, and obviously the film had to be culminated at that point. All right. So therefore, it can happen that the protagonist dies in front of the camera.
That is very unprecedented.
Yeah, unprecedented. And the documentary film can also bust a myth that somebody's death. That means a documentary film can also bring somebody alive from his grave. And that film, if you want to see, that's not an Indian film. It's called Searching for Sugar Man.
Okay.
Okay, it's available on YouTube. You can see Searching for Sugar Man. So this documentary is about this musician, singer called Rodriguez, who lived in America, who was a contemporary of Bob Dylan. And because he was overshadowed by Bob Dylan, that's why he could not gain popularity in America. Okay. But then he went to South Africa. In South Africa, he became very, very popular. In Australia also, he gained a lot of popularity. And back in America, everybody thought, or everybody liked to believe, that this Rodriguez is dead.
He's my most memorable artist.
Bob Dylan was mild to this guy.
He was this wandering spirit around the city.
When he opened up and sang, you went, whoa, this guy's got it.
We expected big things, and it did absolutely nothing.
How many records do you think he sold in America?
In America, 6.
Nobody had even heard of him. How can that be? How can that be?
Now, two fans of Rodriguez somehow got wind of the fact that he is alive in South Africa. They went to South Africa and they tracked him down. And the film is about that.
It's a bit of a mystery how the first copy of Cold Fact came to South Africa, but to us, it was one of the most famous records of all time. He was the soundtrack to our lives.
Bigger than Elvis.
Much bigger than Rolling Stones.
Any revolution needs an anthem.
The message it had was be anti-establishment. The first opposition to apartheid, they were influenced by Rodriguez.
Nobody knew anything about him. He was a mystery.
So therefore, a documentary brought somebody alive from his grave. Okay, so a documentary can do anything. That is the power of a documentary.
Indeed.
Every documentary can also be considered as a journey film. Whether it is a journey in the real sense of the term or in the metaphoric sense of the term, every documentary is a journey. It's a journey of somebody's life. Okay?
Yes.
But there are some documentaries which are actually journey films. Okay. For example, Ram Ke Naam. Who was the director of Ram Ke Naam? Anand Patwardhan. Now, in what way is Ram Ke Naam a journey film? Because when Advani decided to do a Yatra, at that time in the 80s, Anand Patwardhan decided to follow Advani's Rath Yatra with his camera. Okay. So as the Rath progressed, Anand Patwardhan's camera also followed.
आज तो मैं सरकार को और सब लोगों को इतना ही बताता हूँ कि अयोध्या में जिस स्थान पर भगवान राम का जन्म हुआ था, वहाँ पर मंदिर के निर्माण को कोई शक्ति रोक नहीं सकती और मंदिर वहीं बनेगा.
And in the process, it unraveled. It got, bites from interesting people. It showed visuals. It unraveled that how the ideas of Hindutva took roots in independent India. The film is about that. Another journey documentary I would recommend that you watch, it's called Vehicle with the Soul of a Man. It's a short documentary made by Bolaka Ghosh.
Okay.
What is it about? It is about the journey from Badrinarayan to Kedarnath. All right. Up to Badrinarayan, vehicles go.
Okay.
And from Badrinarayan to Kedarnath, that 14-kilometer climb, either one has to walk or one has to go on horseback. And if you are not fit, then you can sit in a dooli, in a basket, and a man will actually carry you.
Okay.
All right. So it's about that journey of this particular man who is carrying a woman on his dooli, the entire path. And then eventually when Kedarnath is reached, he puts down the dooli, he just washes his face in the Ganges, refreshes himself, and he comes down back for the next journey. And the passenger whom he carried all the way up to Kedarnath, she stands in the queue to acquire some punya. Another interesting journey film was made by Saeed Mirza for Doordarshan on the occasion of 50 years of India's independence, where he traveled the length and the breadth. He actually went along Grand Trunk Road. Okay. And he rediscovered India. He rediscovered unknown India.
Okay.
So that was that's also an interesting journey film. And another interesting film which can be called a journey film, it's called Cotton Road. It's made in 2014. It's called Cotton Road. And the Cotton Road is about this garment industry and how exploitative the garment industry is, whether it is China or India or Bangladesh or Philippines, particularly in these parts of the world. And at a very cheap rate, they are making the laborers work, and then the garments are being given out in the market at a very competitive price. And people are, without knowing the background story, we are buying, we are enjoying, we are throwing away, buying the next garment, so like that. So it's called Cotton Road. All right. So that also is a journey film because it's going from country to country.
A very controversial film then.
Very controversial film. Yeah. Okay. So even in journey films that are literally about a journey, the journey becomes a metaphor. I mean, through the journey, you are exploring something beyond. Now, the question is that does a documentary have to tell a story necessarily?
Yes, a story, a viewpoint, something must be told. What is the use?
Viewpoint, definitely. A viewpoint has to be expressed.
Yes.
Now, if you don't want to tell a well-rounded story with a beginning, middle and end, even then, your documentary should have a build-up. Okay, there has to be a build-up. There has to be a development of the idea, development of the central idea, and there has to be a definitive structure. Say, for example, Glass. You have seen Bert Hanstra's Glass. Now, Glass doesn't really tell the story, but it has a structure. It also has 3 acts. The traditional way, the modern way, and the third is mixing of the two. It also has 3 acts, but not 3 dramatic acts. Understood? So, the whole thing you have to put in an interesting structure. That's important, and the development of the idea has to be there. And most important, the documentary has to connect emotionally with the audience. A documentary is not just about giving information and sharing facts and figures, but it has to make an emotional connect with the audience. So as a documentary filmmaker, you have to think how to bring out that emotional connect. All right. So when you are making a documentary, work hard on the beginning and the conclusion of the documentary.
Okay.
The beginning should be gripping so that it hooks the audience and arouses his curiosity. And the ending, as I told you earlier, should leave a trace in the mind of the audience so that he keeps on thinking about it. It may disturb him, it may set him thinking, whatever, but it should leave a trace. So it should leave him pondering. Yeah, so when making a documentary film, probe beneath the surface reality. Don't linger only on the visible, the surface reality, but try to probe beneath the surface reality and try to get to the heart of the matter. And I would like to end by quoting from an interview excerpt of Sarthak Dasgupta. He has made a few interesting films, one of them being The Great Indian Butterfly, which is also a journey film but fictionalized, not a documentary journey film.
Okay.
So he has said in an interview, because he was working in the bank and he was in the corporate sector, he was having a very cushy job. So he gave up all that and became a filmmaker. Okay. So why? He was asked why. So this is what he says. It slowly became evident that for me, there was no better way of observing and understanding life than making films. It is now not only about life, but also about nature and every other phenomenon that is the slow and seamless unfolding of the divine. Filmmaking allows me various vantage points to observe that seamless rollout. On screen, inside me, in the process of conceiving, writing, filming, in the interactions with people, at the rendezvous of ideas, intents, progresses, struggles, and failures, it gives me a vocabulary that breaks grammar. It gives me a music that binds genres. And above all, it gives me a home without a fence or a boundary.
Wow.
So he said it in an interview. I found it very touching and very appropriate. So I thought we can end today's episode with those thoughts. So let us hope all of you turn out to be good filmmakers, good documentary filmmakers. And on that positive note, let's end today's episode. Thank you very much.